Okay, Soraya, it looks like we've got Kent in as an attendee. If you want to bring him over as a panelist.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. I will promote you to co-host as well, just in case during the meeting, if anyone joins in.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for whomever did that. I was beginning to wonder if I was going to get on or not. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Or at least I can.
Good, thank you. All I saw was a blank screen with Soraya's name on it. We'll wait a couple more minutes. Good evening, one and all. It's 6:02 and I hereby call this meeting to order. I'm Kent Watson, the current chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, and thank you for joining our meeting being held via Zoom seminar. This is the regular meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. The commission is charged with establishing a local historic preservation program, integrating historical preservation to local, state, and federal planning and decision-making processes. The Historic Preservation Program is designed to promote the preservation of historic and prehistoric sites, structures, objects, buildings, and historic districts. The Historic Preservation Commission is composed of volunteers from Missoula's neighborhoods, businesses, and preservation professionals. It was established by City Council in 1989. And this is a public meeting, so anybody joining us who's a member of the public is welcome to participate. And if there's any that care to join, I will recognize you when you raise your hand. And I will wait till we have some public members to explain all of the procedures for bringing them on board. So with that said, may we have the roll call, please?
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Steve Adler is absent, and Kathy Baconhauser,
Present.
Paul Felicity. He's present.
With you.
Lee Fredrickson is absent. James McDonald is present.
Yes.
Patrick Swart is present. John
Yep.
Shees is absent. And Kent Watson is present. Jackson Hill is present. We have someone in attendee. That's Lee Fredrickson.
Thank you. So we have a quorum and we can proceed.
Yes.
We have approvals of minutes for the last meeting. I hope you had a chance to, Leif is present. Make sure you get him down as present now. Just joined.
Yes, he is present.
Okay. Yeah. So we move next to the approval of the minutes from the last meeting, which was, check here, the February meeting, February 2nd, 2022. Any comments, revisions, additions? Paul, I see your lips moving, but nothing's coming out. And our screen indicates that you're not muted, so there's something at your end preventing your audio from getting through. Try unmuting your mic again, see if that works. You're muted now. Huh. Can others hear him? Okay, no one's hearing you, so, all right, okay. Well, moving ahead, does any, to reiterate, does anyone have any changes, additions, comments regarding the minutes of the February 2nd, 2022 meeting? Do I have a motion to approve?
Approve.
Kathy moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Jackson. All in favor, raise your hand or just say aye. Thank you. The minutes are approved. And this is the period that we have on every agenda. Every meeting in Montana has this requirement for public comment. And I see that we have no public participants. Is there anyone in the waiting room or anything that I should know about? See. So it appears we have no public.
There's shows one attendee, but that might be the Zoom error because I don't see anyone.
Yeah, we have, Kathy has two windows right now.
It looks like we do have Richard Clemau in the waiting room as an attendee.
Oh,
So if you want to run through the public comment stuff, if you haven't.
do that. If you wish to comment, please use the raise or lower hand feature to let me know you wish to be recognized. And I will allow you to talk. You'll need to unmute your mic. And if you joined us by phone today, you can raise and lower your hand by pressing *9 and mute and unmute using *6. If you're participating by phone, I'll call on you by reading the last 4 digits of your phone number. If you are participating by computer, I'll call the name that was listed when you entered our webinar. It appears that we have no one wishing to comment. All right. Moving on. New business. This is item 5.1. Elect new Historic Preservation Commission Chair. And as I indicated in my email to Elizabeth last week, it's hard to believe a year has gone by. So my term is up. I'm waiting for everybody to jump in and take my place. So looking for volunteers. This, I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. The only one I've heard.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, great. So I'll nominate myself as chair. I'm the vice chair currently.
Okay. So you're nominating yourself to be chair. Great. Happy to pass the whatever. Oh, the gavel. That's what it is. Yes. Any further nominations for chair? All in favor of Paul Filicetti being our new chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, signify by saying aye or raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Right on.
It's all yours, Paul.
No, you finish out this meeting. I'll take it up next one.
Oh, darn it.
Thank you.
Oh, well, okay. So we get to elect a vice chair. And I think we ought to get some of these new members involved. Do we have a volunteer out there? Some of our newer members. Like Jackson.
I could be vice chair.
Okay. But anybody else wish to throw their head into the ring? I have a motion to approve Jackson Hill as our vice chair. Come on, somebody just.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Leif, thank you. Second? Second from Kathy, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. The new administration at the end of this meeting. Congratulations to both of you. And I have to say, well, I'll have some comments at the end. I wanted to that are relevant to this transition. So moving on, item 5.3 is our special discussion, and Elizabeth will be making a presentation, which is basically activity of the commission for 2022 and 2023. So Elizabeth, you're on.
Thanks, Kent. It seems to be lagging out pretty bad at the sound if I have my camera on, so I apologize. But y'all know I'm here. I've blipped in and out. Really, this isn't going to be anything too terribly formal, and we're not going to spend a ton of time on this. But like Kent, I am surprised that I am at my 1-year mark with the city as of last Friday. So now that we are moving into my 2nd year here, I'm kind of starting to develop a vision of what I'd like to see our preservation program do and accomplish here. But as y'all know, I am a one-person office, and a big part of being able to achieve what we want to programmatically is by establishing a really solid coordination plan between the HPO and the HPC to tackle the goals that we have for the upcoming year. So really, like, all I'm looking to do here tonight is run through really briefly kind of our preservation plan that we have as a refresher for those who may not be familiar with it. and then use that to spark a conversation with y'all about what we'd like to see out of the program over the next year and what types of projects you might be interested in working on so that we can get a few more members to be a little more involved in our programmatic efforts and take advantage, honestly, of the wide variety of skill sets that we have on the commission. So I'm going to attempt to share screen. We'll see how well this works. In theory, you should be seeing the Missoula Historic Preservation Commission Preservation Plan. Yep. All right. So I didn't really put together a full PowerPoint because it just seemed like most of what we'd be pulling from is this preservation plan. But the plan outlines 5 key areas of focus for the HPO or the HPC. Although the 5th area, which I'll scroll down to here, is celebration. The majority of this category does pertain to May Preservation Month, though there are a few things from it that we can pull and put into some of these other categories as we work through the plan. So really the purpose here, like I said, is to just get more historic preservation activities and events going on throughout the year. Preservation Month, we do a really good job of pulling together a nice month worth of events, but there's a lot more that we can do to highlight the benefits of historic preservation and to help educate the public who may not be aware that they are living in a historic district or may not know what it means to buy a historic home. There's a lot of avenues that we can work with the public in various capacities to improve our education efforts and to make everything that we have available on the preservation front easier for them to access. So my thoughts here were that we might consider dividing the commission into a few smaller groups where it'll be myself and then 2 or 3 other folks that can tackle each of the main branches of our preservation plan. The 4 areas that we do have in our plan, which we'll go into a little bit as I go on, are advocation, collaboration, identification and documentation, and then education and outreach. I'm not going to read each point that's on the preservation plan. I can forward it along to y'all, and it's available on our website if you need to see it in more detail. But I will quickly run through what each category entails just so you all know. This conversation, if you guys agree to try to tackle it from this front, I can send out a doodle poll tomorrow that'll give you the option to select which category you might be interested in participating in based on your own interests and skill sets. But for the first category, the advocation, this is primarily focused on kind of more of our regulatory stuff with establishing historic preservation incentive programs and partnerships, as well as seeking out grant funding that can strengthen the work that the HPO and the HPC do. Collaboration is fairly straightforward and entails working to build strong relationships with other preservation groups, developers, realtors, etc., to preserve our historic and prehistoric sites and structures. And it ensures that the HPC stays in the loop on preservation projects that are going on throughout the city. This could also entail putting educational materials together for professionals that provide information on what it means to buy a historic home, how to care for different materials, making sure that all the preservation efforts are being done according to the Secretary of Interior standards. I know there was talk when I first got here from a couple different folks about possibly doing different white paper things for developers and for property owners. That would be something we could do in that collaboration section. The next category is identification and documentation. Here we'd focus largely on the local and the national register, trying to kind of get a little more detail to our local register, get the process a little more streamlined for folks that aren't already on the national register. Historic property surveys, engaging with the neighborhoods and different property owners, and then working to increase our digital presence by just making sure that the information we do have is easily accessible and available to the public. And then the final category that we have is education and outreach. This would include ideas such as working with the university, the public school system, and or our historic sites to help them develop educational materials and activities, curating new physical or digital exhibits, trying to pick up a little bit more with the pop-up exhibits that Emmy had in place, and then hosting various events, et cetera, that we can do to bring more people to our sites and raise more awareness for everything that we're trying to do with them. These are all just kind of broad examples and not specific things that I've actually thought about and what that will look like. I would want to leave a lot of flexibility in these plans for y'all to work within your own skill sets and within your own interests and making sure that we are covering as broad a stroke as possible when we do this. So really the going over this, the education, you can see there are a lot of different components to it. We can mix and match these as possible, as necessary within the groups to make it all fit with what you do and what you want to do as a commission. But I think it's important that we really bring our focus when we're not in the midst of reviews for different historic preservation permits, that we stay focused on this preservation plan and coming up with ways that we can work together to make sure that we are putting out a little bit more in the way of deliverables for the public. That could look like digitizing our current tours, developing new tours, hosting events, or just one-off talks about different preservation issues. I've talked with different folks about possible avenues of collaboration. If we could get HPC members that would be interested in speaking to different neighborhood groups or working with our different sites like Moon Randolph, etc. So I just wanted to know kind of what y'all's thoughts are. If anyone has been thinking of different things that they would like the commission to be involved in, particularly those that I don't get to see a whole lot. I would love to hear if y'all have any thoughts on ways we can make the commission be a little bit more active and be a little more present in the community as not only a tool when they need to come in front of you for advice, but also as a really effective avenue for raising awareness and education about the value of preservation. So just using this as kind of an open-ended conversation to hear from some of the folks that I don't get to hear from very often. So jump in if you have any thoughts.
So Elizabeth has thrown out the glove, as it were. I hope some of you have some comments that you can provide as feedback.
I think it's I think it'd be a great idea to break the commission up into some smaller groups that could tackle some of these things, and I'd be happy to do some of that. Personally, I'd be particularly interested in like research or interpretation related things, celebration, documentation, I guess it is on here. And I wonder also about like, I think it would be good for us to pick out some discrete projects to try to work on and maybe build off of other things that are already out there, tours that we already have, as you mentioned, or things like Map Missoula or other sort of, other projects that we already have out there. So I agree that it would be nice to get the commission more involved, and I'd like to be more involved and pick out some specific discrete projects that we can work on.
Thanks, Leif. Anyone else? One of the things I've said this before, it's been a while since we've brought this up, but I still believe that we need to figure out what the relationship of the commission is to the heritage plan, and how we as a standing entity within the city of Missoula should relate to that particular document. And I have no preconception on how that should be done, but I still think there's an important link that needs to be made, other than just attending, having someone from this group kind of monitor what's going on. So I just wanted to mention that again as an item I think is worth looking at and digging into a bit. And with that being said, I want to also restate what I said before. The plan itself is an excellent outline for how downtown historic heritage should be interpreted, and I think we as a commission can help all that make all that happen, and figuring out what the actual connection is I think worth pursuing. Right now, we as a commission are the only administrative body within the city that's specifically dealing with historic issues, and the plan is there and available and in use, and I think it's a great document, and we just need to kind of have a better understanding of how things might operate moving forward.
I think that is a big part of trying to get the commission to come together in these small groups so that we can get us more involved in various interpretive efforts, not leave everything to the downtown partnership and making sure that the HPC is taking whatever role it wants in that. And that's kind of what opening this door is for. If there's areas we feel we could be more involved in, this is our chance to identify them and make sure that we get a seat at the table if we feel like we don't have it somewhere, or if we want to build stronger collaborations with other groups. This is our chance to kind of break into these smaller subgroups and start thinking about what that looks like and getting an actual plan in place for what we want to see done over the next year, and try to just make this a regular thing. This idea of talking about this today kind of came from Paul's suggestion that we do kind of a midway check with the CLG grant as we get, and we're not quite at the midway point yet, but we are getting close, and I wanted us to at least try to have a good plan moving forward before we got to that point. And Kathy, did you have something?
Yeah, though, a couple things that I'd really like to see is some more outreach to residents in regards to maintenance, because we get a lot of questions about that, and that's something I can definitely help with. I get questions from the public and also from, well, just from about anyone. What do I do with my windows? And if we could put on or put out some information about how to repair. And I know I've put together a couple, and I'm more than happy to help with that in the fall, winter, and early spring.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy, I think that's a great idea. Great comment. Just in terms of that, maybe there's in conjunction with this idea, maybe there's a part of the HBC website that becomes a FAQ point for people that really starts to bring some of this information forward, at least put it out there in a more permanent form so people have a place to go when they're looking around for information, including the tours, you know, and linking this information back into the commission so that it maintains that link between the community and the commission where the information is coming from. So, Ken, just a question for you, and I'm not expecting an answer right now, but I think it'd be something to consider is in terms of that, the historic preservation plan, the downtown historic preservation plan, or the heritage plan, and how that integrates here, like which one of those categories would that fall under? I think that would be a good thing to kind of take a look at it, and so we can understand that a little bit further.
Good question. I will have to review the categories and see how that best fits. Good question, though.
I do know that the city is about to go through a process of cleaning up a lot of the websites and doing a little bit of an overhaul within our current framework. And so the possibility of putting like a FAQ section is something I'll definitely look into, Paul. I think that would be really helpful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Elizabeth, sort of a process or procedural question. Right now I have a screen, a large screen. It has share screen at the top with our images. Down the side, I also have the image. There we go.
Sorry about that. I forgot to stop sharing, so I was making y'all look at yourselves.
Yeah, I was getting a mirror image in delay. You know, I'd move a hand, and a second later would move on the other screen. It's, okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
So to make sure I wasn't going completely crazy. Yeah, I think reviewing those categories and seeing how some of this stuff that we all been talking about fits into those and how we can best move forward with them is a worthy exercise. Absolutely. You have more, Elizabeth?
That's it for that. If y'all don't have anything else on it, I will send out a doodle poll tomorrow. That'll just, instead of dates and times for a meeting, it'll have the 4 different categories. Any and all that you may be interested in, let me know so that I can try to pair us up as best as possible. Some of y'all may not end up in the group you hope to. It just depends on how the poll results turn out. But I will send that out tomorrow and then hopefully be able to get back to you next week with our actual pairings and going from there. And they're not going to be set in stone categories. So if there's a little overlap, that's going to be okay. just as long as we're getting something. My ideal would be to see the HPC have something deliverable at least every other month. I think with 4 subcategories of people working on a variety of different things, and then the work that I do, I don't think that should be an unachievable goal, even if we are doing, like I mentioned, just digitizing existing tours, taking some of Emmy's former pop-up exhibits and turning them into digital exhibits so that her work isn't lost and so that we can still have that available to the public. There's a lot of avenues where we can be pumping out more in the non-May months. So I think there's a lot of potential, and I thank y'all for seeming interested in this, and I look forward to seeing which categories you all want to participate in when I send out that poll.
And Elizabeth, can you send your document with that? Because I see it's not on the links for the agenda or anything.
I sure will.
Yeah, because unfortunately, the one that you had on the screen is a little hard to read, and we ought to have it anyway. So if you can include that with your doodle poll, that would help.
I will. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Old business, assuming we can move ahead now to item 6.1. May next month is Preservation Month, and we need a update from the Planning Subcommittee. That will be that Paul or Jim?
I don't know that we ever established that. It's whichever person wants to jump in. If none of y'all want to take it, I'm happy to.
I always mention Paul or Jim because they have the history of working on this in the past, and I don't. So it was easy for me just to pass the buck. But
all right, since you all aren't exactly jumping at it, I can jump in with this. There's not a ton to update at this point. Kathy and I are waiting still on finalizing some of the stuff for an awards ceremony. Should know more about that soon. Jim and I will be meeting tomorrow to hopefully make some good progress on getting the AJ Gibson Tour updated and in a new and improved self-guided form. Thank you to Jim for all of your work so far on making that happen. And then we have a couple things that are in the works. Possible tours at Moon Randolph Homestead, which you all should have gotten the email about. And then after the HPC tour, which we'll hold that as a special meeting of the commission up there on May 14th. After that, we will likely be holding a public volunteer event at Moon Randolph. So come get your hands dirty at the homestead, help them out. It'll be a lot of fun. And then we're also trying to arrange a tour at Leland Ranch. That's still in the works. Did we decide on the 21st on that, Jim? Paul, somebody remind me. I believe it was the 21st because I think it was when Jim's going to be out of town.
That's correct.
Okay, so we also have that going. And then the awards poll will be going out this week. Public will have 2 weeks to vote for our preservation awards. When I get the results of that poll, I will be in touch with y'all to make decisions for the awards. And then the legacy awards, I will bother Paul for yet another meeting so that we can sit down and kind of nail that down. And we'll be in touch with y'all again about that when we have some potential options. And then that's a category for the legacy businesses that is decided by the commission. So we'll be in touch about that. And I think unless Paul, Jim, or Kathy have something that I've missed, the only other thing I have in the works right now that will be done by Preservation Month will be our Women's History Tour. So we look forward to at least having one new tour going on, and then we'll have the new and improved AJ Gibson in self-guided form.
And I should mention that the banners are going up in the hip strip.
Thank you, Jim.
And there's 14 banners going up, similar to last year. They go up on May 1st and come back down on the 31st, but I think Is that right? It's 31st of May, yeah. And then, but if we have our awards meeting here at that point, or June 1st, which is our regular meeting day, I can probably see if I can get it extended at least a day or two there. But I put in the deposit, which was $100, and then Reserve Missoula, Historic Missoula, is picking up the balance, $250, to put those up and bring them down, get them down.
Thank you for that, Jim. Yeah, as of right now, we're hoping it'll all come down to the availability of where we're going to do the award ceremony, but we are hoping to try to get it on June 1st to coordinate it with our normal HPC meeting, since the last weekend of May is Memorial Day weekend. So I wouldn't expect too much of a turnout if we tried to do it that weekend. So just for now, pencil it in, make sure if you can be that you're around for the June 1st, which is a Wednesday, would be our normal HPC meeting. So if we do have anything that has to come before the commission for review, we'll have to hold that as a special meeting, but no different than we would if we did the award ceremony on a separate night. So just pencil it in for June 1st that we'll have something, and we'll get back to you more when we know more.
Is that women's history? Is that a self-guided tour, or?
It will be, yeah. I started that when I wasn't sure where we were going to be with COVID restrictions, so I thought it best to just go self-guided. If we want to turn it into a guided tour at some point, it's easier to go that direction than flip it around. So.
Okay, anything further on Preservation Month?
So just one comment on that Leland Ranch thing. I don't know how many of the HPC are familiar with the Leland Ranch, but it's a county-owned property out by Harley-Davidson, and pretty interesting piece of property. It's got a great history on it. Steve Adler's done some research out there. Dan Hall did some archaeological research, and then Jim and I have worked with the county over the years and doing some building preservation condition assessment work. And it's a piece of property that's in need of recognition. And I think it'd be, and the county is on board as well in terms of using it during HP month to kind of get some of that recognition in back into the historic preservation community at least. So I think that's a great opportunity. If that does happen, I would encourage you all to come on out and be a part of that. And in fact, volunteer to be a part of that and just be there to greet people. And in fact, any one of these events, I think it'd be great that everybody from the HPC, particularly when there's a public event, show up and be a part of it, just so that people can put a face to the HPC and know that we are out there.
Very good, Paul.
Great comment, Paul. I'm just trying to look it up on my Google Earth at the same time. Yeah, I also worked that into the master plan we did for the parks and greenways out there over 25 years ago. So I echo what you're saying about the ranch. It's a really cool facility. I mean, there's a lot that was going on there historically, and most people don't even know about it. And it's right there at the off-ramp off the freeway too, so it's really handy. And I know at one time there was discussion about maybe the entry, sort of entry visitor center for Missoula. So there's a lot of possibilities, and I think, like you say, it's a good facility for people to get to know about and appreciate. Okay. Anything further on planning subcommittee and preservation month activities?
Nope.
All right. Yeah. Somebody, I heard a voice. Oh, it's not. I don't want unmuted, so. Moving on, we have building watch. Item 6.2 is there buildings that have come to the attention of any of you that we should be aware of and understand, appreciating as to what's going on. It might be part of further discussion. Okay. Hearing none. It's time for your official staff report then, Elizabeth. Item 7.
Sorry about that, I was muted. Okay, so last HPC meeting, we heard from Bob Oakes from the NMCDC about submitting a grant application. During the review cycle, the grant review team for city staff decided to recommend the project to City Council for funding through the Housing Trust Fund. The final step will be council final approval on that, so that's exciting news for the NMCDC. Also, the Moon Randolph Homestead was excited to announce that the NMCDC has received an $8,000 grant from the Montana History Foundation to fund an engineering report that will begin the rehabilitation process for the Moon Randolph barn, which is currently at a pretty high risk of collapse. So 2 exciting updates there from the NMCDC. There were 2 HPPs that have gone through the expedited review format since we met last. Both have been approved for the St. Patrick House and the Boone and Crockett. I was supposed to say Boone and Crockett Club. Sorry about that. Both were approved. For the Moon Randolph Homestead, they are we're trying to get our preservation month calendar set. I know most of you have, since I typed up the staff report, gotten back to me about attending the tour. If you haven't yet, please do so I can try to nail down a time with Katie. Additionally, the Homestead is seeking applications for volunteer tour guides for the 2022 field season. If you're interested or if you know anyone who might be, I attached the flyer to today's agenda on eScribe, so you can check that out and pass it along to whoever might be interested in doing that. The deadline to apply is May 1st. We are always in CLG grant season, it seems, but once again, it is April. So it's time for us to submit our CLG grant final report for the 2021-2022 year. If you haven't already, if you could send me your volunteer hour timesheets by April 15th. If you have any questions about the rate or how to fill out the form, please don't hesitate to reach out. They should include all of your hours for October 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2022. I've noticed from the few that I have gotten, we've had a few HPPs come through in that time. Make sure that you're including the time you spend reviewing those on your timesheet. Anything you do on behalf of the commission, let's include those hours on your timesheets. And then if you've been involved in any planning coordination or any subcommittees, make sure those hours are represented as well. And then for the upcoming year, the 2022 to 2023 year, our CLG grant application was received and executed by SHPO. So we are good to go for the 2022-2023 year. We have 2 National Register nominations that are in the works and or in the plan. One is the City Cemetery nomination, which y'all are aware of. I've received feedback from SHPO on that, and I'm continuing to work with them to get the nomination actually finalized to go before the State Review Board. And then the next one on the docket is the Leland Ranch. I've begun compiling research and the sources for writing that National Register nomination. Paul will be graciously helping out with that. And we are excited to see that property get the designation it deserves. And we'll keep you updated on that as I move forward through it. And I know we are a bit out from September, but I like to put it on your radar for the best conference in Montana for the 2022 Montana History Conference. Will be held September 22nd to the 24th at the Holiday Inn in West Yellowstone. This year's theme will be the 150th anniversary of the Yellowstone National Park. So keep that on your radar, put it on your calendar if it's something you might be interested in. And when I hear that registration opens, I'll be sure to pass word along to y'all for that. And for a rather brief staff report, that's what I've got for y'all.
Elizabeth? This Jim, actually they changed the history conference. It's now going to be in Red Lodge.
Okay, I I looked at the website this morning. I apologize for giving the wrong information there. It's going to
No,
be in Red Lodge.
they haven't probably got all changed yet, but they're still working it out. Evidently, they couldn't work it out in West Yellowstone, so they had to change it.
Okay, well, Red Lodge it is, and I'll get y'all more information when I have
Yeah,
the
yeah, it'll
updated
come out at
info.
some point here.
Yeah, still almost half a year out, so just wanted to put it on your radar, because I know that conferences can often sneak up on us when we don't pay close attention to them. So, and that's all I've got for you, Kent.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That's exciting. As one who grew up in Yellowstone Park, it's pretty exciting that this is the year of recognition for its 150th anniversary, and I hope I can make that one. Red Lodge is kind of a neat town. It's one of those towns that took me a long time to get to, and so I would look forward to being there for that. Moving on, it's time for board member comments, item 8. Well, I would like to offer my observations sitting in the courtroom number 3 at the county courthouse this morning, waiting and hoping on one hand not to be called, but on the other hand, wondering what was going to happen with the jury pool that they were interviewing. And so I had a chance to look around, really appreciate the workmanship of everything that's taken place in the remodel and the upgrade of the county courthouse. I've seldom had the time or opportunity to like I had this morning to sit in there and appreciate the handiwork that's done historically, then the work that you and Jim did, Paul, and all the renovation work for the courthouse. I just wanted to pass that along because it's easy to just sit there and be bored, but it wasn't boring in terms of what they were doing, but it was also entertaining for me to appreciate what was visible in that room. And a question I have you must have records of the artists for the murals, and like the mural behind the bench, courtroom 3. It has the 3 sort of Grecian, I say, put that in quotes, women with the 2 of them being blindfolded and the one in the middle balancing the 2 globes. Was that a famous artist of some kind, or just some obscure contributor to that?
Jim, do you have any
No, I
documentation?
don't. I was just going to ask you the same question.
Yeah, I think that might be a question more to Raphael Chacon.
Okay.
He might have some information on that, but I do not know.
I mean, it's really, it's wonderful portrayal sort of justice, because the slogans across the top is like freedom, equality, and justice in the arc that encircles the mural. And it's a good encapsulation of the process that's taking place in that room. And of course, the detailing of the coffer ceilings and the cornices and all that it was just such. And I didn't have my fountain pen wasn't working, so I had to do my sketch with ballpoint. But it was kind of cool to sit there and sketch up that chandelier. So thank you for being part of that. It's a wonderful addition, certainly, to our history.
Thank you.
Anybody else have comments?
So I have a question for Patrick, and not to put you on the spot, but you were working on a mapping document. Do you have any update on that, or?
Yeah, Map Missoula it's up and running. It's on the county website. We've done collaborations with the university. We have a whole bunch of county documents on there. We're currently mapping and linking all the property records for the county. Doing some more narrative driven stuff called waypoints. That's kind of adding some of these human stories as well. We just in transition with Elizabeth taking over as the new historic preservation officer, we kind of hit a wall with linking some of the city historic preservation materials into Map Missoula, but that's definitely something I think we'd still be open to if the commission was interested and the city's interested in doing that as well.
The city is definitely interested in that. I can't speak for the commission, but
Thank you.
Good to know. Thanks for asking the question, Paul and Patrick. It's nice to have that update. Any other comments from the board? One thing I noticed procedurally that I just wanted to bring up, and I don't wish to confound any process that may already be in place in this regard, and that is, and I appreciate Jackson stepping up and agreeing to be vice chair. I look on our listing and rediscover the fact that Jackson is an alternate. And I'm just wondering, and this is something the staff would have to look into, to what extent that is an issue relative to a vice chair position. You know, I don't want to discourage Jackson's volunteering. I think it's great that he stepped up. I just wanted to mention that before I get too far along and discover that there's some procedural difficulty in proceeding as a vice chair if you're an alternate.
I did already make a note of that, Kent, because I noticed that too when he stepped up. I'll look into that and get back to y'all if we have any problem with that.
I mean, I'm glad we have alternates. It seems like our alternates in some cases are better attendance than some of the members, and that's what alternates are for, obviously, is to step in when we have vacancies in meetings. So I just wanted to make sure that we're aware of that. We don't, go down a path that we have to backtrack on. Okay, we're at item 9, announcements, news, and upcoming events. It looks like we've covered most of those. Certainly the most exciting one is the conference coming up on Yellowstone's 150th anniversary to be held in Red Lodge. Any other event that has not been mentioned?
I just wanted to mention that the National Trust conference this year is also they were going to have it in person, but it went back to virtual. And I know we have the opportunity through our Preservation Commission where we can get probably registration for any of our members for that conference. And there's some good sessions there that and I'm trying to find the date right now. It's in September or October. Why can't I find it? Oh, okay. It's October 31st through the 4th of November. And it's a good program if you need any credits for anything. There's history or architecture or whatever. That's a possibility, but now that it's virtual, we should have easy access and you should be able to get registration through the commission. And if you can't get through that, we can get it through the Preserve Montana or one of the other organizations too. And I think it's only a couple $100, but still it could be paid for whoever wants to at least attend the virtual one.
Thank you, Jim. It's good to know, and good opportunity, obviously. Well, we've gotten to the end of our agenda, and I have to make an apology to everybody. I misled myself and you over the course of this year on how to adjourn a meeting. I had seen somewhere that was okay just to adjourn, but I discovered in my deeper research today that to adjourn, a motion has to be made to end the meeting. A second is required, and a majority vote is required to adjourn. So since we've gotten to the end, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Jim has moved. I hear a second.
Second.
Patrick seconds. All in favor, signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time and effort.
you.
Yeah.